are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hi, yes, it's true. Here I am. We are live tonight. I'm not sure how many of you caught our show last week, but it was a pre-record, which I never do pre-records. I always do live shows. But I was in Germany hanging out with my kids, and it was amazing. I did try to log in and chat with some of you guys. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning where I was at, but my eyes didn't stay open very easily, and I didn't see anyone there. So I'm not sure how that all worked out, but I hope you enjoyed the show. It was so good. Natalie Zett, she's a fantastic human, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did in spending time with her and holding space for her while she shared her story with all of you. So welcome. It's Wednesday night, Soul Wanderings night, and I'm so excited for tonight. On my plane trip home, the long venture of like 20 hours, I was able to read our guest's book, and I have to say, it's not your average book when it comes to paranormal research and sharing authentically about his life journey. So tonight will be really neat for myself because there's some parallels, and I think you guys probably already know of this human being. He's pretty well known and is doing some amazing work in the world and helping all kinds of humans and spirits. So let's get right to it tonight. Joshua Lewis is our guest, and he's the creator of HOPE, Helpers of Paranormal Entities. He's also a clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, as well as a conscious medium. And his God-given ability is used to help others connect with their spirit guides, angels, and of course, loved ones for direction and guidance. He connects with his own higher beings, ascended masters, to bring forth understanding to areas of one's life that may be cloudy. Using his unique style, Josh incorporates seeing, hearing, and feeling what spirit has to give him regarding a message for his clients. Believing in a higher power he chooses to call God, Josh uses his ability to help people reach levels in their life never attained before and reconnect with loved ones in a very special way. And it definitely is unique, the type of work that he does. Josh, thank you for joining us tonight on Soul Wanderings. We're happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor. Really is. I apologize for right before I was under the misunderstanding in how we were doing it, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you, AJ.
I'm just happy you're here. Those things happen, and we'll just let that go and be present here in the moment. I'm really,
cool.
Like I said, I'm really excited to have you. I've actually watched several of your YouTube videos, and I found you on TikTok long before you were introduced to me as a possible guest.
Oh, okay.
And I was drawn to you because I watch a lot of paranormal investigations. I have done those my whole entire life since I was a child, actually, with my dad. And so I like to find the ones that I feel are authentic and genuine in what they're doing. And you stood out that way to me. The way that you connect with spirit is very unique. First of all, it's not like anyone else that I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of people do these types of things. And I love the foundation in which you do your work. It's heart-centered, and you work in the light, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So,
Well, thank you. And the fact that it's amazing that you said, you read my book and on the plane, and I don't know how far you got or if you got through the whole thing, but that's awesome. Thank you.
oh yes, I downloaded it like way a while ago actually, and I was like, what a perfect time to read it.
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
so behind on books. I have piles of them, but I had my Kindle and I was like, oh, perfect. I don't have to have the book here. I can actually just pop it here on my Kindle and read
That's
away.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really good. Oh, I'm not even holding the book. I'm used to holding the book. This is my Kindle. So,
Let
I'm
me
sure you have
see.
a copy of the book. There
Yeah,
we go.
right there.
Finding Hope in the Afterlife.
Right.
I really liked it because, you showed up right away from the very beginning of the book and shared your life story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not something that a lot of people would be really willing to show up right away and say, "Hey, this is where I've been and this is where I am now." And I just thought when I shouldn't say it's courageous because we all have choices and we all do things in life, and because we share them doesn't make us brave necessarily, in my opinion. It gives you I think it just gives you this step in the door of really connecting with another human being because you are showing up authentically.
Mm.
And we can all relate to your story, I'm sure, on one level or another. We
Right.
all have felt the things that you felt in our own way and or have gone through similar or, been around people who've gone through similar experiences. So, first of all, thank you for showing up that way. I think it's
Yeah.
cool that you put that in the book. And if you wanna call it courageous, I'm not gonna take that away from you. I'm not saying it wasn't brave because you really did put yourself out there, and I think that is fantastic. And it does take a level of bravery to do so. But your journey, for those of you who haven't read the book, why don't you just share a little bit of your back history with us, and, we'll go from there.
And and I'll just say before I share any more or any part of my history is that I needed to say that because I felt like sharing that stuff was so important because I was doing this amazing work. But I mean, one, it's my story, like that's my story, but and I can't change it. But it's because I don't feel like I'm some pious holier than thou. I've got it figured out. I've mastered life, and I come from some pristine background. I don't. I really, really, and I'm still making mistakes today. Like people they send me some, messages about, oh, these videos are really helping me, or, you are so they say some really kind things, I'll just say. I'm not and I accept them, right? I accept the beauty of that. I feel like that's my higher power expressing himself through me, and that's what they're noticing. Yeah, I'm giving him a little something to work with, and so he's using me as a paintbrush in a way at times. And I think that's the greatest blessing there is for me. But I'm very quick to say, hey, I'm still very selfish, self-seeking. I still get angry. I still have
You're still a
ego.
human being.
Yeah, I'm still a human being, and I can't sit here and act like, So anyway, that's all. And I think I keep trying to do that because, there's that story about, like, I forgot it. I forgot the name of the story, but it's about God asks for one of his angels to go down and find the greatest devotee to God, and so the angel goes down and he comes upon some man, and the guy is just he's so proper and he's so devout, and he says, have you felt, the angel says to him, have you felt God? Have you met God? He goes, no, I have not, and I'd like to, I don't know where he is, and but I'm going to keep praying to him, and I'm going to keep having faith. And one day, and he goes, okay. And then he goes down the road and he sees some guy painting a fence, and he's getting mad. The guy is cursing and he's yelling. And he goes, sir, do you know of God? And he goes, oh, that bum. I'm waiting for him. I'm asking for him to come, and he doesn't come and help me. And he's really like this very crude guy. And he goes back. And so the angel goes back to God to report what he found. And he goes, this one guy, he's very devout. He follows you. He loves you. He goes, I don't know of him. God says, I don't know who that is. He goes, but then, well, there was this other guy, and he was really this very nasty, crude. Oh, the guy that's painting his fence. I know of him. And the whole point of the story, and I'm telling it really badly, but the whole point of the story is that we don't have to be proper. We can be ourselves. We can be our genuine selves, and still in the process really find God and find our own, higher power and connect. And we could still curse and be, whatever. We could be who we are.
Mhm.
It's not about the Sunday mass and being proper to certain, to how it looks. There's this inner journey that we all have to find. It all looks different, to finding that source, that connection.
Yeah.
So that's where I come from. And my story is crazy. I grew up middle class, tri-state area, Connecticut. Had a great family, and I went to Sunday school and Catholic schools and things. But I was a very sensitive kid, and kids are not very kind to sensitive kids sometimes, so I kind of took the brunt of that. And I tried to overcompensate. And so I ended up getting myself in a lot of trouble. And I ended up finding, drugs and alcohol as an escape for me to be someone else, because I didn't want to be that sensitive kid. And so that stuff got me in, deep down bad. And it was about 11 years of steady using and really burning bridges around me, catching charges, petty charges. And then towards the end, some serious stuff. I ended up I shot a drug dealer in a drug deal that went bad. I ended up trying to, after doing that, 30 days after that, I tried to rob another dope dealer's home during a hurricane, and that ended very badly, very badly. And I was facing life in prison, and I was up to the point where I was going to have to take a deal of 20 years. And I was able to get an attorney. Eventually, my parents put some money together, got me an attorney, and I was sentenced to 2.5 years instead. And that was a serious thing, but it wasn't long enough that my life would be over. I used that time wisely. I didn't want to spend it in vain. And, I found my own higher power. I reconnected with Jesus Christ. And I'm not talking about the religious Jesus. I'm talking about the Gnostic, the one that loves everyone, the one that doesn't hate anyone. That's, okay. So that's the one, and it was amazing. I got out with nothing. I had nothing, I had to start from scratch again. And I was able to start a little business, find a little place to live. And I ended up kind of building myself back. And I made some money. And I kind of started to take some time off with my partner, Nikki. And we were, researching paranormal stuff, just kind of watching shows and going to cemeteries and little spirit boxes. And we found that, after some research, that there were voices, intelligent voices repeating their names, our names, saying, help me, we want the light, ask for God, things like that. So that really started the journey. That was, in a nutshell, really what my story is there.
Do you feel like that type of interest in the paranormal came to you at a perfect time, that gave you a reason, like a why, from your previous experiences you were having, like to get you on a different path?
I think that for me, what I found is 12-step recovery. 12-step recovery is really, I've got 18 years without a drink, and and I've been, thanks. And so the 12 steps could benefit anybody. Anyone could do the 12 steps. If we remove the whole connotation of Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever it is, any anonymous thing, you could really take the word alcohol out and really they're great guideposts and ways to clean up our life. And so what I found was, when I started to do the work, or the research, the paranormal research, I found they were asking for help a lot of times, and I would just pray for them, or I would just start to, if I picked up something through the response or the medium I was working with at the time, I started to use what I learned in the program from the 12 steps. And so those, to me, I find that's what really helped me, because it was helping me. It was helping people I was working with that were alive, guys that were, coming out of prison, and I was doing a lot of 12-step work and things like that. But then all of a sudden, I would get in these conversations or these exchanges with spirit, whether through the box or through the medium, like I said, and they sounded very similar to how I would, when I was discussing something with a sponsee or with someone I was going through the steps. So then I realized, wow, there's something to this here. Anyway, but I was fortunate enough to make enough money at the time where I could take the time off, and I still, after 20 years, I'm still working from home. I still get to do what I love, and I'm not making nearly the amount of money that I was making before. And sometimes it is tough because I've kind of chosen to go this route. All I cared about before was really business and, just having multiple businesses, making sure I was financially secure. But once I started doing this work, and I found not only that these intelligent, there were spirits on the other side that were not all demons. This wasn't about, darkness and stuff. And then I knew that, and I started to discover that I had an ability that I could use very well. That's what started to really, my priorities really started to change. It's how do you worry about making money all the time when you know that this is out there, this is the deal, this is the reality, this is the truth. Mm-hmm. So, I think that was just at the right time for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's neat how it just felt when I was reading your book, it felt serendipitous, just how it all just worked out the way that it did.
Absolutely felt like synchronistic. It was divine orchestration, however you want to call it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's really neat. But before you ever got into the paranormal investigations, you weren't yet aware of your abilities at that time.
No. And then of course, as you read in the story, I felt like an intuitive person at times, just my own gut. When working with someone, I'd be listening to them and they say something and I would just feel I knew what to say, and so there was that. But, going with this medium, working with a medium, and all of a sudden she's sharing stuff that, I'm questioning her because I've never really worked with mediums. I don't really know. My partner, Nikki's kind of, she's really questioning this woman that I was working with in the beginning. And she said, the woman said to my partner, you're going to have the ability, you're going to get it. And we both kind of were like, BS, come on. and Nikki, who was just a little cynical over certain things, but a really good person. She's a great person and I love her, and she's a very spiritual person, but she's not just, she doesn't take everyone's word for it, and neither should anyone do that. But, sometimes kind of a little closed off in ways. But man, when it hit her, it really hit her. It was foretold that she would get it. And then one night on Christmas Eve, she got it. And I quizzed her on all these things that she didn't know, because we wanted to really find out if this was real. And using a new toy, like a kid on Christmas using a new toy. We used her ability. We talked about it. We did all this great stuff. And then shortly in, she said, after a couple of weeks of using her, her ability, she got the message from spirit that I was going to have the ability. And that's crazy. No, that's not. I'm 30, almost 33 years old. That's just impossible. I can't, I'm pragmatic. That's not going to work. I love this work, and so that was a great gift, but he said that I was going to go through a purge, that the spirit said I was going to go through a purge of ego. And let me tell you, over the next course of like a month or so, it was tough. I was getting real bothered by everything. Everything was pissing me off. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know why. And I didn't want to give any credence to the fact that it might be true that it was this purge, because it was almost like it was like, I still have my ego, but it was like my ego was getting pushed out on one other level.
Mhm.
And it was just making room for this. And one night, finally, just like in the program, I have to surrender to win. They talked about, it's one of the sayings they talk about. We got to surrender to win, and I finally, just accepted, this is where I'm at, whatever. And I'm not going to get the ability. I don't know. I give up. You can take it. Don't do it. Do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like the guy with the fence, painting the fence, whatever, do what you want. I got mad, and then it came. So once I let go, it came, and there's something to be said about that. And normally that's how it is in my life, is that I hold on. There's claw marks left on anything that I'm trying to let go of. But then eventually when I do, it's like God goes, okay, you finally learned the lesson. Let me help you now with it,
Right. We're so good at getting in our own way, right?
Oh, I'm my biggest obstacle. Absolutely.
Yeah. When I was reading that in your book, how it was all about ego and letting go of the ego, and you'd receive these abilities, you still were like, but no, I'm going to get in my own way. It wasn't until you got frustrated and was just like, okay, I give.
And I'm still getting in my own way. And that's been the journey for 10 years, is how to try to find a way to get out of that. And and to try to get out of his way. If you interviewed my guides, they would have a long list of complaints, I would say. They say they love me. They say they're there helping me, and that they know that I have love in my heart. But they got a list of complaints that, that they would have. Probably sometimes just sitting here being, burnt out from it, just being burnt out from doing some of the things that I do, these multiple sessions, and I'm just scrolling TikTok for about 20, 30 minutes. And I could hear a voice like, come on, get off that, man. Let's go. Yeah. Sometimes I got to check out,
Yeah. I mean, I could see why it would be exhausting doing reading after reading or investigation after investigation. It energetically is exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when it's what you're doing on a regular basis. Well, this is going to be fun. I'm really excited to get to know you better, and also all of the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to take our first break of the show, and when we get back, we'll continue to wander with you, Josh. Stay close.
Awesome.
Okay?
I'm here.
Cool.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
It's not just a donation.
It's a warm blanket.
It's a bottle of clean water.
It's a roof and a bed.
It's knowing someone cares.
It's feeling safe.
It's a today that's better than yesterday.
Every dollar you can spare helps so much more than you can imagine. Please, donate now to help people affected by Hurricane Ian. Your support is urgently needed.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Welcome back to Soul Wanderings. We are hanging out with Joshua Lewis tonight. He's the creator of Hope, Helpers of Paranormal Entities, and the author of Finding Hope in the Afterlife. I love the title. What was your intention behind it?
I wrote the book without the title. I didn't have a title, and I was ready to go to publishing with it. And I was doing sessions with my guides and asking, I'm like, I don't have a title, guys. Can we get a title here? I can help me with a title. And so I was just, I prayed. I mean, I got a lot of help with that book because I was sharing about that in an interview recently that I knew I wanted to write a book, but it was just a massive task. And I knew I wanted to put a lot of things in there, and I made it an interactive experience where you would read, and then there's a little footnote, and you go down and there's a link, and you can click on the link and it'll take you to a video that was corresponding, showing what I just shared about. But I felt them, and as I was conjuring up the book in my head and kind of getting ready to start, they would start to say like things in my sessions all the time, like, start the book, get the book going, let's go, get the book, So, and then as I'm writing it, they would say like, the book's coming out great, we love it. Like, so the people were reading it on the other side somehow. I don't know how that was being done, And there were times I didn't want to put things in there because they were too personal. And I would go past that point in the timeline or whatever. And then I would somehow be brought back to that point, and they would say like, it needs to go in there. And that's what I would get the feeling, that it needed to go in there. So a lot of help. And I think that's what made it, I think, a lot better than it would be if it was just me kind of writing it. I know it's me on the cover and I wrote it, I'm the author, but I really give a lot of credit to the divine and to my guides and my guru Paramahansa Yogananda. And so, I really feel that there was a lot going on with that.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very unique book and not just in the fact that you share your personal journey before all of these other things occurred, but you also are so willing to offer to others how to do this for themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
you empower the reader to show up for themselves in this way. I think that's really cool.
That's cool. And that's great. I mean, that's been really, that's why, I was going to release my book for free because I wanted more people to read it. But, I had to put it through a publisher. That's really what I wanted to do. I worked with a good publisher, and but I have a free app. I created an app, and there's a pro version coming out soon for online for desktop and for laptop. But I created this app that is for free, and I offer people an opportunity to do what I do in a sense themselves.
I don't know if it will show up.
Yeah, the Hope Spirit Box app for Android.
I downloaded
and iOS.
it, but I haven't played with it yet.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it's right there. It's on iOS and Android for free. And on my channel, on my channel. It's, there's a tutorial within the app, but there's also a longer version on my YouTube channel on how to use it. And I send people, if they ask me, I send them a meditation, a 15-minute guided meditation. When you book a session or a reading with me, I give you this meditation and group sessions. People are patrons and they join, and once a month for $25 or $50 a month, they give me a list of questions and I can ask for their loved ones. And I do that because I try to make everyone have an opportunity, whether it is the most expensive option I have, which is really not that expensive. It's $175 private box session that I offer people. But, and then I have, anywhere, they could join the Patreon. But also, like I said, it doesn't matter. Anyone, if they wanted to, could download the app, focus a little bit, put in a little patience, a little time, a little focus, like I said, and receive. You're going to have the best connection with a loved one. People come to me and they're like, can you tell them I said this? And I go, tell them yourself. They can hear you. You just really can't hear them as well, or you're not tuning into them. But I mean, I've got a lot of messages from people that can't afford to be a patron or can't get a box session from me or go to any other medium. And they download the app because they saw the video that I posted on the channel or whatever. And they follow the directions. And then they message me and say, I can't believe it. For the first time, I've been asking for my father or asking for this person. And I'm getting, I'm here. I love you. I miss you. 3-4 word responses. And they're like, this is so clear. I've never heard this on anything else, And of course, and I try to be as transparent as I can. That's the whole point. I can do whatever I do anywhere with anyone at any time. I don't have limitations. It's not the Great Oz. I don't have a screen that I have to hide behind, So, I mean, I can go do all that. And I try to show people what my process is, what I'm using, and I'll answer any question. If you're respectful and you're a skeptic, I'll talk to you as long as you want, because that's understandable. I do get attacked sometimes, and that's tough. I get some hate and things like that. And some, I've gotten better over the years with kind of, I guess, not getting caught up in it. But, sometimes I want to defend myself on some level and say, yeah, it's enough. I'm real. Everything I do is real. I have no problem sharing that. And, you shouldn't talk that way. But that's just my own crap. I'm still working through it. It's like I'm still learning how.
You're still a human having your human experience. So
right.
You're going to have these growth experiences, no doubt.
Yeah, that's it.
I appreciate your transparency. You're very transparent in your book. And if anyone were to go and watch your videos, which you guys, I highly recommend that you do. Josh has a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel, and we'll be sharing all of that with you. So you can go and follow him and subscribe and like his videos. They are actually, I fell asleep, and not because I was bored, but I was listening to one right after another.
Like ASMR?
Yes, you're very calm, and the way you speak with spirit is just so meditative and relaxing to me.
I've been told that before. It's nice. Thank you.
No, it was great. And I was like, I'm not bored. I want to stay awake and listen, but you had me so relaxed at the same time.
It's funny that you say that, because I have to review. So, the majority of what I do, when I do a session, I only hear about 25-30% of what is said from spirit in real time. The majority of what I capture, I have to go back and listen.
Right.
And so if it takes me an hour to record a session, which is a long session, that's like a group session I'll do, it will take me almost 6 hours to review it.
Yeah. It's not the most fun part, right?
It is not the most fun part. But what's funny about what you just said is that I think that I fall victim to my own voice, because I'll be sitting here with these headphones on, facing my screen like I am right now, and just picture, and I'm like this.
Yep.
and I'll go.
I didn't want you to take it the wrong way.
And then all of a sudden I'll like go, And I could tell like a guide is next to me going, wake this fool up, man. Tell him to go to bed. I stay up too late trying to review my sessions. But yeah, I think I put myself to sleep sometimes.
Yeah. I remember listening to so many EVPs because that's the kind of work my dad did when we were growing up. We would go out to all these really random places.
That's cool.
It was really cool. I didn't appreciate it as much as a kid because I was like, oh, we're going to go do this thing.
Right.
My dad's crazy, but I like hanging out with him because
that's what my daughter thinks. She's 10. So that's
cool, crazy. Yeah, she'll appreciate it. If she doesn't now, if she does, she'll appreciate it even more when she's older.
Right.
It's pretty neat. But I remember he would just rewind and play. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are we done yet? Like we've heard, there's nothing here to hear.
I know.
But it's really neat. And I can see, but the point of me saying when I listen to your videos, I was bringing up the fact that they are relaxing, but the point I was going to get to was how like I said, I've watched so many people do investigations, and you brought up earlier how it's not always dark and it's not always heavy energies. When I see you work, there's absolutely none of that. But I also feel like it's the energy in which you lay your foundation and how you decide to communicate with spirit, and how there really is a genuine energy about you that sincerely wants to assist spirit, where you're not antagonizing them. You're not trying to put on a show for your followers. You're genuinely assisting spirit. And I think it's so different from a lot of the other investigators that I've watched, and what sets you apart from others. And I think it's really beautiful the way that you decide to share with them and assist them, because I really feel like it's needed, especially when there are so many people out there that are making this whole industry kind of look bad. And you're doing things how I feel the right way.
Thanks.
The way that they ought to be.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that first, thank you for that. That's very kind of you. It's always been, I mean, HOPE is Helpers of Paranormal Entities, and that's how it started. That's the acronym for what it was. And then as I've gone on doing this more and more, I've now come to the point where the acronym of HOPE stands for helping other people evolve. And I think that that's really where we are with this, and it's on both sides. But, I have now had connection with spirit, with certain souls that I felt even more connected to than I have with people that are alive that I know.
Yeah.
And I feel like genuine friendships, and it's hard to not keep calling on them, to not keep wanting to talk to them, because, and I don't think that's the right thing to do, is just to keep calling on them all the time. And, one I'll bring up is that I got very close to the spirit of Gabby Petito, because I did a lot of work with her. And that was a tough one, because selfishly, I wanted to keep asking for her, and I know that she wanted that too, but I also felt that it was detrimental. But I also know that I still want to and should be able to, talk to her, periodically, I guess is the term. It's been really amazing. These are the people. I mean, it's hard to believe that, especially when you're speaking to a well-known person. If you're asking for a well-known person, I'm going to say that there is no way for anyone to prove 100% that we are speaking to the person that we are intending to speak to, right? Unless they're giving us a driver's license through thin air somehow, and they're validating that. But they can give us personal details. They can even show themselves, which I've captured visual, images of people, but very detailed personal, things. That is something that is, that can happen, but at the same time, it's still tough to know that who it is. But when you ask and you reconnect with the same soul 2-3 times, and they say, yes, that's me again. And they have a memory of your last conversation. And then they're sharing things that are very personal to them. There's something very special going on. And then they say things like, the spirits, they love you, Josh. They love listening to you, or they watch you, or, we know that you can help us sometimes, and you hear those things, and it's like, you got to take that seriously. There's a responsibility there. My life was over. It was done. This is my second life within the same body. And it was like the devil's. My life was evil. I wasn't evil, but I was living a very dark existence, the one that was going to end with incarceration for life or death. And I was saved, and not in the traditional religious way. I mean, I was really spared from the depths of hell. And so now I have a beautiful life. I have a blessed life. I have a wonderful family. I have a house. I have two beautiful children, and I have, there's a lot of difficulties within this life still, but at the same time, I'm very blessed. But nothing is of a greater blessing to me than the connection I have with my higher power. And sometimes I go through periods where life gets too busy still, and there's things going on, and I don't feel that connection as strong. And I really hate it. Like, I don't like it at all, and it's not always easy to get right back to. But the one thing I tell people is this is the one thing that I try to convey, and I hope that it comes across, is that, no matter what you're going through, no matter how you feel, no matter what shame you feel you have or regret you have that you're holding against yourself, all of those things is what keeps us from feeling like we're worthy enough to go to the higher power. And so if we can just really give ourselves permission to, like you've been saying, to be human, and to say, okay, I don't care what thought I had that was so bad. I'm going to really just go to my higher power and dump my soul and say, hey, I don't feel that spiritual right now. I don't feel that great right now, or whatever, but I know you're there and I need you, even if it's a foxhole prayer. And again, it has nothing to do with, with religion. And that's why I love this guy so much. Because he talks about the science of communicating with God, the science of communicating with God, right? And he didn't belong to any religion. He belonged to the religion of the world, in the sense, he just cared about helping people find their higher power. So, I recommend these two books, but I would say, I would recommend this book first. I'd recommend this book first. I really would, because I think I think that's a more important book. Because I tell people, Steve Jobs, I don't know. I say it because I think it's important that some really successful men, some men that have done some amazing things, because sometimes people need that kind of sign off. They need a little bit of an endorsement before they can sign on to something like that. But, at his funeral, he made sure that there was 500 copies of that book, of Yogananda's book. That everyone would leave his funeral with that book. George Harrison made sure to keep copies of this book, to make sure that he gave out and so these people, those two men amongst millions others, but those two men alone followed Yogananda. And on their deathbed, they both had very, I would say, beautiful things that they said upon dying. Steve Jobs' last words were, he made this wide face and said, "Oh, wow, wow, wow." And he just kept saying, wow, because he was embracing the light. He was seeing the light. He was being greeted. He was being felt. He was feeling what Yogananda talks about. And so did George Harrison. He said something about, love as being the only thing that really matters. And that's all we really need to, focus on. And that he was feeling it and seeing, the love. So, and I've asked for him, to come through, and someone can argue and they can say, well, how do you know it's him? And why would he speak to you? You're a guy in South Florida. He didn't know, you're going to talk to a beetle or whatever. But he came through. I feel he came through. The responses were beautiful. They were amazing. They were strong. They were powerful. So, and it continues to, he came through. He shares in his book that, there was a student that was asking him, how are we going to get by without you? Or the guru, and what happens when you die? What are we going to do? And he goes, oh no, the guru will be there when when he dies. In fact, he'll be able to help you even more from the other side. And, that sounds like really nice, right? That sounds like a nice thing to say, but how do we know that's really true? Well, when I started reading this book, about 5 years ago, and I knew of him prior, but I wasn't ready for the, when the student's ready, the teacher appears, and that's when I was ready. And as I was reading, and I was still doing my sessions for people and doing my group sessions and everything, they were saying, Yogananda's here. He's right here. He's standing here. He's saying that Jesus sent him, and all these wonderful things. It's all in my videos, and it's in the book. And, I share it in my book, and he used his own voice. He comes through and says, Paramahansa, in his own voice. And I didn't give him his voice. It was just him coming through the box on his own. You could see one of the brightest orbs of light drop down behind me. And then as it drops down behind me, it just goes right into my back, enters into my back, which you could see a lot of in my videos, a lot of these orbs that are coming in and they're entering my space, they're entering me. Yeah. And I had this little white patch that, a lot of times the orb will shoot out of the white patch of my head. And there's a funny story about that. A barber, this woman, she asked me one day, she was cutting my hair, and she said, oh, did you have a near-death experience? And I said, no, maybe every night when I was doing drugs, I guess, I don't know. But I don't know. I didn't. And I said, why do you say that? And she says, well, no, a lot of people that come into my chair, and if I see they have a white spot, I asked a guy one time, and he said, that he had a near-death experience. So I kept asking people that had these white patches in their heads. And a lot of them, the common thread was they had some kind of near-death experience.
Wow.
And so I said, I didn't, but I said, and then I showed her a video of the orb shooting out of that spot. And she goes, holy cow. She goes, it's like the spirit highway, to your third eye or something. I said, maybe.
I did notice that in your videos, and sometimes it gets pointed out, but you do have a lot of activity around you.
Visual, yeah.
Yeah, you can actually see it. It's crazy surreal. Like, it's awesome. And you brought up Gabby Petito. That's how I found you.
Is it? Is that how you found me?
Well, I watch a lot of
true crime.
Yeah, I went to college for criminal justice that's just something I'm very interested in. But that case, because a lot of it happened here I live in Utah.
Oh, okay.
It was just talked about a lot. And so I was following everything with her case, everything from the very beginning to this current moment. I mean, there's still stuff going on, right? So
there's a new video that just released, yeah.
So I that's how I came across you, actually, is you talking to her. I was like, wait, what? Like, her voice even sounds like her voice.
Well, again, I'm using, so I have two different ways just to kind of, and I just want to, mention this because it's part of the process. So I have.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into the process.
Yeah, it's just because I just want to mention that. So I can use a spirit box where it's going to use a number of different sounds that are going to come from different internet stations, radio stations. It's using bits of sound, skipping. And when I use that kind of equipment, there's a better chance that the soul can actually use all these different sounds of other people to form their own responses and even use their own voice, which is really remarkable.
It is.
But then there's another technique that I have, and it's called the Hope Voice Signature Method. And that's where, and that came through a lot of experimenting, watching other guys do some different things and trying it, in my own way and kind of tailoring it. And what I did was I took the person's actual voice, if I could get it. Sometimes it's not accessible, but sometimes I can get it, especially if it's a well-known person. You can get their voice and I will take it and I will slow it down to about 60%. So it's almost half slow, but it's not. And then I reverse it. And then I chop it up into 2-second increments and randomly just rearrange everything. So it's just a track of 3-4 minutes of complete gibberish. Now, why do I do that? It's the same premise of what a spirit box radio is. It's using just little bits and pieces of sound, and with no words, because we don't want a false positive. We don't want anything to come through that we think is spirit, but it's not, right? Mm-hmm. So this way, it's either going to come through as gibberish if they're not using it, but if they do use it, they're going to be able to take that gibberish and form their own responses just as they would in a spirit box. And so that's what we're doing. And when that happens, it seems to make the connection even stronger. So I did that with Gabby, and yeah, I mean I think the whole Gabby sessions alone are just my best work. Some of my best or my best so work. And it's I just love her and miss her to death. I don't know how else to say it. It's a crazy way it's a tough thing. It really is.
Yeah, I can imagine. I haven't had those experiences that you've had, but you can feel that even in your videos, the connection between the two of you.
Yeah, I had many people mention, they were like, "Oh, I think you're falling in love with her and stuff." And they said some stuff like that. And I said, I love my partner and I'm very much in love and I'm very much attracted and in love to, but I said, I definitely felt a different type of love that I've never felt before.
Yeah,
and, and it,
for sure,
it was just, I mean, she was really here with me many times where I could literally just, as if I'm talking to you or just right in front of me. Yeah, it's just really remarkable. And then she showed herself using water ITC, which is, what she did there is, that's nuts, because I asked her if she could show herself, and I use water. I take a bowl of water and I use light and I agitate the water and I ask for the spirit to show themselves in the agitated water with the light, and I snap photos really quickly. And she was the only one ever in all of it. I've captured some amazing water photos, and she was the only one ever that I actually saw in real time, the face in real time. And you can hear me in the video, see me in the video going, I could see you right now coming through, because I'm taking it as I'm filming the session. And I have the raw photo in my phone, so I'm looking for a photo online to use as a comparison. And I find one, and it's the one where she's wearing the beanie hat. She kind of looks a little forlorn, or just kind of like she's not smiling like she is in every other photo she's in. And it's a cute photo of her. And for some reason, I decided to flip it, and I flipped it. And I put it right up against it like a filter. And it matched up perfectly. So I don't know how else. And that's happened 3 or 4 other times with other people's loved ones, where they were able to imprint in the water an already taken photo that loved one owned. This was a photo. I don't know how she did it. And I had a scientist, the guy that interviewed me, and I said, it always comes through reverse though. And he goes, well, it's interesting. He goes, I was watching one of your videos and I could see in one of your water ITC photos that one of the orbs entered the bowl. And he goes, and if that's the case, that means they're going into the water and they're looking up to imprint that. He goes, but the bottom of the water is going to act as a mirror, and it's going to refract. It's the refraction or whatever. And it's going to, and I said, wow, that makes sense. That's why it's reversed then. And that's why it's coming up that way. I never thought of that. I wasn't smart enough to think of that. He was a scientist, but he figured it out just by watching my videos. And I think that's really amazing that people will say that, I'll put it out there for you to make the determination of what, if I'm captioning it right. I'm not saying they're all 100% right. I do the best I can. But a lot of people will say, I listened to this session with this well-known person or with my loved one, And they said things that they said it in a certain way that they said it, that there's no way for anyone to know. I know it was them. I could feel it just in the way that they spoke. It was them, And I go, I think that's really cool.
I just think it's just absolutely surreal and fascinating and insane and just all of these emotions. When I watch your videos, I'm like, but how? And it also doesn't feel insincere or not real to me. They all feel very real. Like there's no way that you can deny it. And it's probably the energy that you have, the way that you are communicating with them. And the way that they come through is, if you were familiar with that spirit, just like you do a lot of celebrities and things like that, you get their true essence. You get their personality, which I think is really cool. We're at the top of the hour, so we do need to cut over to a commercial break, but it is the last break of the show. The second hour is commercial free, and so we'll get to hear more about Joshua's experiences. So everyone stay close. We'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
It's not just a donation.
It's a warm blanket.
It's a bottle of clean water.
It's a roof and a bed.
It's knowing someone cares.
It's feeling safe.
It's a today that's better than yesterday.
Every dollar you can spare helps so much more than you can imagine. Please, donate now to help people affected by Hurricane Ian. Your support is urgently needed.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hi there, Wanderers. Welcome back. You are listening to Soul Wanderings here on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. And you can learn more about my show and all of the other shows hosted here on kgradb.com. soulwanderings.com, or you can visit soulwanderings.com to learn more about me and what I do. And there is an amazing area on kgradb.com I want to make sure you guys know all about. It's a members only area, and you can purchase a membership to get behind the scenes content and all of the extra goodies that are going on that aren't shown here on live or pre-records. And if you want to join for an annual membership, you could use my promo code, which is SOUL21, SOUL21, and that will give you 30% off of your annual membership. So use it and save some money. There are some other websites I want you guys to go and visit also. And one of them is our guest, Joshua's, and it's hopeparanormal.com. You guys can see all of the good stuff that he's up to, find all of his social media links. He has some great videos on YouTube and TikTok. Go and check them out. Hope Paranormal White Light on YouTube, and at Josh Hope Paranormal on TikTok. I don't know how many people are on TikTok, but it's kind of a thing. If you're not there, you should go and check it out.
TikTok is crazy because I was told by my web guy, who is also the developer of my app with me, Dennis, he's like, you should get on TikTok. And I said, I'm not getting on TikTok. That's nuts. I said, I'm not going to create content like that. And, what am I going to do? Like, the dances and stuff. I can't, but I started to go through my old videos, and I started ripping clips from them and just posting them on there. And all of a sudden they started going viral.
So good. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay. So then I started, just posting the best of Hope. And that's really what TikTok is. Now I've got 350,000 followers on there that, and I've got videos with millions and millions of hits and views, whatever. And people are like, holy cow, I get called a fake a lot, and that's fine. But I mean, there's a lot of people that do see it and find it and are like, this is, people are changing their minds when it comes to that, I think. But you can get lost in a TikTok.
And everyone's going to have an opinion. You just, there's always going to be critics, and if you're not doing it right, you're not going to have them. So I think it's great. And, TikTok is one of those things where you easily get sucked into, especially if you got your
algorithm
down, because then you get all the good ones, all the things you want to see.
I stopped and watched one video about a guy buying a Rolex, and now I've got nothing but these watch Rolex videos, and I'm like, no, I didn't want to. I just wanted to see the one thing. Now that's the algorithm, whatever. But
it works quick.
and YouTube's algorithm is strange too, because it's hard. I didn't know where this would go. This was like this wasn't going to be a career choice, and I still don't really say that it is. I'm just kind of following the trail, the path, the inspiration of where I'm going. I still own my hookah bar. I own a hookah bar in downtown West Palm Beach, and I've had it for 14 years. Just hit 14 years the other day. So it is a long time, and I have some other stuff, and I own some little properties and things. And so I'm kind of, I'm okay. But more and more, I just spend more and more time on what I'm doing. And I knew that sharing my work on YouTube, I was reaching a lot of people, but I was just so dependent on that channel. Like I would always say, I have a channel. I'm not a channel though. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a channel. I'm not a channel. And there's a big difference between that, and that's why I felt like I really needed to have a book, write or, create an app, start holding live events. And I've had my first 2 live events, one in St. Augustine, another one in New Orleans recently. And it's a 3-day event. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday at a hotel. And, it's about 20 attendees. They come and, and the first day I take you through an investigation at some really cool location. And then the next day I give a presentation in a workshop. And then the third day, I do a gallery group session for everyone in attendance, where I do a group session with my box and I tune in. And it's great. It's been really cool because I just taught a class. It was an 8-week course online with my teacher, Deborah Katz, Deborah Lynn Katz, PhD.
Soul Wanderings too.
Has she been on? That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because she's everything. She's such an amazing woman. I love her.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
she's done so good. And so, her and I, we did this piercing the veil master class kind of thing. I don't like calling it, I guess, a master class, but it was where, she taught the intuitive side. A lot of what I do to connect now, I learned from her foundation, from her teachings, from what she taught me, the flower technique and all these other techniques that she teaches. Yeah. I learned from her because I went to her school, the International School of Clairvoyance, and attended her courses and things. And so now, 10 years later, I'm using that stuff to capture amazing audible and visual evidence. And so I said, let's teach a class together. And so she taught the intuitive side and what she used to teach me. And then I taught how to use the equipment and a number of other things. It was really cool. Students did very well, and we did everything. Like we taught, we touched on how to do a session with the app, how to listen and review, how to connect intuitively, how to protect ourselves, how to do, basic, just begin with telekinesis and learning how to move things with our minds, which I've done and I've showed on my channel how I've effectively moved things in one direction and then back in another direction on command. Water ITC, how to take that spirit photography, how to catch orbs, how to determine what's the difference between dust and an actual orb. So we did all these things and students really did very well. It's really cool.
It would be a really neat class. In fact, I was interested in taking her course. The dates just never lined up for me, but if I were to take one from anyone, it would definitely be her.
Yes, she did. She's, funny story. It's crazy. When we were getting ready to teach the class, we were kind of setting it up. We weren't ready yet. But it was a few weeks, I think, prior. And then she's like, when I was getting ready to go to sleep, Josh, she's like, I had this voice come to me, one of my guides, or it sounded like a guide of mine, say that Marilyn wanted to speak, Marilyn Monroe. And she says, but she's like, I was too tired. So I said, can we do this another time? And I know, right? And she told me this, and I said, well, with the class coming up, I said, it would be great for you and I to do a session ourselves. I said, let's ask for Marilyn ourselves. And so I just I didn't know what I was getting, just the same as I didn't know what I was getting when I asked to speak with Gabby, is that, I asked to speak with Marilyn, with Deborah on like this and doing a session. And I asked her a question. We connected and I saw her there and she said something, but she says, I forgot exactly what she said, but she goes something Debbie and Joshua. So she called us by both of our names.
Wow.
Very clearly. It's in the session, it's in the video. And, but she said that she was looking for some help. Now it wasn't the typical, I just need, it felt like you have to watch the video, but it felt like she just wanted to talk. She wanted to talk some things out. She wanted some prayers. She was ready, more receptive to something that she might have not been in the past. It sounded like,
mm-hmm.
And I had to do multiple sessions to ask for her. And it was really just quite incredible. I mean, multiple, and she came through very clear, very strong. I felt the connection very well. So I don't know. It was just really, really remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah. She seems to want to communicate with quite a few people, I've noticed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really watch a lot of other people. It's tough. I try to see some, but, I especially don't want to before I'm getting ready to connect with someone.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get whatever they've got going on. And,
No,
you
that
know,
makes complete
yeah. I really like to be completely, you know, then the same when I do a reading with someone, you know, it's hard to do readings for people that I've started to get to know on a personal level. So I really don't like it. And, you know, I have some of my best friends and partners. They're like, "Oh, you piss me off. I want a reading and you don't ever do a reading for." I'm like, "I know everything about you. What am I going to give you a reading on? I can't, it doesn't work that way." And when I have a person get a reading from me, I tell them, I say, "Listen, I'm going to have you say the person's name or your name 2 or 3 times, your birth date without the year. And then I'm going to focus and I'm going to just look and I'm going to read off what I'm getting to you for the first, 15, 20 minutes of the reading or so without any feedback from you. And some of that stuff could be wrong. It could be off, but a lot of times it's right. And I'm just going to go with what I get and then we can go from there. And that's how I feel better. Because then I tell them stuff that no one's leading me in any directions or anything like that. I like to just give you what, and then we can go on that and ask about that,
Yeah, do a clean reading for sure.
Yeah, cold and clean, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the best readers like to know nothing, little to nothing.
Yeah.
They get the most accurate reads that way. So you taught this class previously with Deborah. Do you guys have a future class scheduled?
We don't have one yet. We talked about it that we need to. It's just I think we're both busy, and she has her own classes that she's doing. I could do one myself, and I have done them for my patrons. I did a 12-week one for my patrons where I offered it, but I want to do another one with her. And
that
so
would be really neat.
Yeah, and we will. But
contact list.
yeah, I think it will. Yeah, I just she's just for one of my forever soul people. She's just, and so I mean we definitely will. And I think I might even put the other ones on recording where people can for like a lot less. I think be able to view those. The past ones. But anyway, yeah.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I like that you're so willing to teach other people to stand in their power and learn and connect to their abilities. I think it's so important that we do that because we all have them.
Right.
And they're just so important, I feel, for our human experience to have that growth. Because when you connect to your abilities, you somehow go through a lot of other experiences that kind of push you into that growth experience, which I think is pretty neat.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's amazing because you're really deconstructing this reality as you go through that kind of realization. It's a form of self-realization.
Yeah, really getting to know yourself.
Yeah. And, I have this thing I say that, the longer I'm here, the less I know. And it's because,
so true.
And what does that mean? That really means, that we're just finding out there's just so much more to know that we don't know. Exactly. And that, with experience comes humility. And so that's what it is. And humility is not humiliation. But it is a humbling thing. And sometimes it doesn't look pretty, doesn't feel pretty, doesn't feel good. But yeah, I mean, how many of us are worried about our position in our careers and our status within the community or society and how we look and how, what we do have financially for, and all of those things to some degree are, I guess, necessary to survive the human experience. So there is something that you have to put a little to that. But when you really look at how much you put into it, and then how much are you going to be able to take with you when this existence is over, the physical part is over. And then you really, wonder, I was listening to Howard Stern, whom I just love listening to. I think he's great. And and he was talking with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and these two older guys, rich old guys, were like, Howard's like, Arnold, aren't you afraid of dying? Like, I mean, I'm just scared to death about it. What's, and you go, I don't want to die. I love all my money. And, Arnold's talking and I'm going, listen to these guys, that sucks. That they are, they have their chess pieces right where they want them in this life, but they're in the fourth quarter, they're in their fourth quarters. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are they going to take with them? And I don't want to be that. I'd love to have a nice, I have a nice house. I have all the things I need. I'm saying, but it's like, who wouldn't want to be able to do anything they want sometimes? But it's not what's important. That's not the important aspect here. It's to put the other stuff into the spiritual bank account, because that's when you get to the other side, you're going to check your bank account. You're not going to have the millions here, but you're going to have whatever you put into the spiritual side of it, Yeah.
So. And what did you accomplish here as a human being?
Right.
It really does give you some food for thought. And I don't know if that's just something as you get older, those are the kinds of things that you think about. I never really thought about a creator in depth, or probably even believed in one until I had some experiences myself. And it totally changed the course of my direction. But still at that point, I wasn't thinking about, well, what's the point of being here and what happens when we're not here? Those are things that have come across as I've gotten older and have gone through other experiences. But it's something that's always on my mind now. Like, it's always in my awareness, I would say daily. Like, what am I doing with my life today that's going to matter later? And I've really found part of my calling in life, and I'm heading towards another calling. And it all has to do with dying, with death and dying, and life after death. And I'm so pulled in that direction. And so I'm questioning all of the time, like, what happens after we leave here? So I want to ask you that question, in your opinion, through all of this research you've done and all of these investigations you've done, what do you feel like happens to us after we transition?
I to try to make this as simple as I think I can, because I think there's different facets I could go down with a lot of what I've heard, with a lot of what I've come to understand. So if we're spending our time, like I just said, in this life, and we're working on ourselves, we're trying to be compassionate, we are trying to seek a power greater than ourselves, through prayer and meditation. No matter how many times we fail in that process, that during our lifetime, if we don't stop seeking, or we keep doing that and looking for that, we are going to get to a point. So when we die, we're going to be in the light, pretty much. We're going to be experiencing no real obstacle standing in our way from that ascension. If we die and we lived our lives where we were focused a little bit more on the material things, we weren't bad, but we just kind of focused more on the material things, we may die with a little bit of some stuff holding on to. We might be holding on to some things here. If we're holding on to things here, people, physical things, if we have a lot of regret, that can kind of keep us more in the middle space. And the middle space is not bad. It's not hell. Some might say it's purgatory or whatever. But that's a very religious term, in the sense there's a middle space, and I feel like it's laid right on top of here. I think there are objects within that space that are almost physical to them, to those people. I think that so it's not just all spirit feeling. I mean, they've talked about getting rest. They've talked about working. They've talked about eating at times. There's been, experiences that they're having. I see them wearing things and they say, yes, I'm wearing that or whatever. When they show themselves, it may be as an orb or whatever. I mean, because those are the loved ones coming in, those orbs you see in my videos, because that's what I believe the soul looks like. But there's just so much about the other side we don't understand. I know that this guy talks about death is not the great escape that people think it is. It's not you're going to die and become an angel at once. If that was the case, then let us all go to the ocean now and drown ourselves, he says, and become angels. He says, but that's not it. He goes, you are who you are in this life. In the next, in the afterlife, he's saying that you're taking that essence and that personality and what you've accumulated with you to some degree. And, you can still find the light. You can still find the higher power on the other side, but this is the place to do it. He's saying to do the work now. Don't wait until, don't get lost in the game here. It's fine to get the five senses. I'm sorry?
That's easy to do.
Right, which is that's how the game is devised. It's the Matrix is devised as, this really, he talks about it as a simulation of light. He goes, this is just a simulation of light. And that would make sense. I mean, if you look at really what an atom is, nothing is really even a solid anyway, and everything is made up of light and vibration, frequency. So the fact is that he's right. And the movie The Matrix is very right. And you got guys like the guy Joey Pantoliano in the movie that he doesn't want to give up the steak. He goes, I still want to eat the steak. I know it's not real, but I still want it, And I know it, I mean, we all, or a lot of people are understanding that. But even understanding that, it still doesn't mean that you don't want to taste the food or hear this or see this or feel this, right? I mean, so he talks about Yogananda and what I've come to understand from my research, from what they talk about in the box sessions, that when people lived a full life and they lived a good life and they lived with love in their heart and they tried to help when they could, and they had a faith in a God, they always share that they're in the light, they've felt or met God, and they've had a divine experience. They're with their loved ones. They've met up with them again. And that everything is great, that they are good. Okay. They're blissful, joyful. Others that have passed from traumatic situations too soon, holding on to things, anger, fear, they're a little bit more in darkness. They're not in hell. They're just a little bit more emotionally in pain. That may feel like physical pain to them still in some way. But so they talk about that. They're the ones that sometimes want help, need the light. And we have the ability as humans, as souls within a body, to ask our higher power to send down light and we have the power to envision light, to help, these souls. And that would also work for helping other people. Like I can envision the light shining on you right now and, in a meditative state, and it would help you. It would help you just the same as it would help a soul on the other side. And we all have to live by God's light. As in bodies, I was talking about it the other day that, we have to eat something, but it's been proven that we really don't need to eat. It's not recommended to try to prove that, okay, because most people are not experienced enough to do that. Neither am I. I'm not. But there are documented cases of people that have not eaten for very long periods of time and survived off prana, off of the light, God's light, and of the energy within the universe. And so, when we focus, we meditate, we can pull in that light into our bodies. Certain meditative yoga practices. I practice Kriya Yoga. I started with transcendental meditation. when I focus on the light for a soul that's asking for it, and I hear them asking for it, and then I turn off my cameras and I've focused and practiced them having that light come down. I'll turn on my boxes afterwards and I'll ask, and they'll say, yes, I felt it. It's amazing. I see it. I feel it. So a lot of times they'll confirm what I'm seeing intuitively.
Yeah, I think it's really neat when on your videos, when you share that you'll pray with them. You say you'll turn the monitors off and everything and sit in prayer with them.
Yes.
I think that's really cool. Why do you do that?
Well, I mean, I used to do it on camera, and then it would make my videos like 40 minutes long, and it was just too long. And it was just, I think it was, so, and sometimes they're very personal, and I share a lot of it. I've shared it in the past, but I also, is that what you're asking? Why am
No, I don't necessarily mean why you turn the videos off.
Gotcha.
But I don't know any other investigators to my awareness in this moment that pray with spirit.
Yeah. I mean,
communicating with them.
I don't think that I don't think I could be considered. I mean, I guess afterlife researcher I could be. I don't do as many investigations anymore. So I mean, what I really do is advanced ITC, advanced instrumental transcommunication. And instrumental transcommunication is using an instrument to communicate with another dimension. And so that's what I'm doing, advanced spirit communication. So, but you're right, though. I mean, the majority of people are not looking at it like that. My next video is a very special video. Another really, I mean, they're all special, but I mean, this is a really interesting one. I just had a woman reach out, book a session with me, and she wanted to reach her father and mother in a box session. And we did the session, and the father comes through, the mother comes through, you can hear them. And then at the end of the session, we're done. I turn the cameras off, and the woman goes, I wanted to, tell you that I found you from your Brittany Murphy session that you did. And I said, okay. I said, yeah, it's been months ago. I said, I have her on my list again, because there was some stuff that came through in that session of hers that I really want to reach out to her again.
Oh, good.
And she goes, well, I was her best friend. And I went, oh, okay. And she says, yeah. And she goes, and I said, how did you know her? She goes, well, I worked for MGM, and I was in production, and I worked on King of the Hill, and I worked on this and Buffy, and I did all this. And I'm like, whoa, okay, wow. And she goes, yeah. And so, I said, I was best friends with her before Simon, her, fiance, and all this. And he was the last one to kind of push me out in this situation. And I said, let's do a session for her. In fact, I said, I still have her garbled voice track on my phone. Let's turn it on right now and ask. So we turned it on, and we asked for her, and she goes, it's me, and I want to talk. I want to talk to her, to Stacy. And I said, all right, well, we'll plan a full-on session another night. But in the responses and just asking for her in that brief moment, we heard the word depressed. And I asked this woman, her name is Stacy, I said, what did you feel from watching that original session that I did? And she goes, just that number one, I felt like it was her. I knew it was her. I know her that well. And I just knew that was her, and just how she's still not fully over what she went through.
Yeah, I bet.
And I said, yeah, that's how I feel, so we just asked for her the other night. I had the woman Stacy on like this, and we asked for her, and the whole time, really, I mean, she says, I get to talk to my Brittany comes through, and she goes, I get to talk to my Stacy, and I want to thank you. And so she said that very clear. But she's like, I said, how can we help you? Can we help you? And she goes, the light. She goes, I want you to connect me with the light, and just please ask for the light more. And I, God knows I'm connecting. And she said some really interesting stuff. I mean, she said some interesting responses came through. And that was another situation where it was like, I'm going to pray for you. We're going to turn off the camera. And so, here I am. I mean, this woman, Stacy, she's also, the producer, one of the producers for the new Wednesday show that's coming out, the new Addams Family, Wednesday show. And here we are. I'm standing up in my little office and she's in her flat there in California. And she's Jewish. I'm, I guess Christian in the sense I believe in Christ, but it didn't matter when there was nothing to do with religion, but we were both focusing on the light for Brittany and envisioning Brittany, the three of us standing in an astral room, holding hands, the three of us, and envisioning light shining down on all three of us, but mostly for Brittany, and so it's really remarkable,
That's another case that always fascinated me. It was just it doesn't really add up.
Yeah.
Her situation. And I just always adored her. I just thought she was a cool human being.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed watching her and she had just a really amazing energy but she came through and she's still working through something. But she said, I'm okay. When I found her, I had to go to her somewhere. She didn't come to me directly. And this was the first time I reached out to her, and she was sitting by a lake or like on a shore. And I go, am I seeing this right? You're sitting, I said, I just arrived on the shore somewhere and there's water. And she goes, yeah, it's my place. It's the place I like to go. That's what she's saying. And then she says it through the box. And I asked her about that this past session, and it's been almost a year now. And she says, yeah, God knows I'm connecting. And she goes, it was near a lake. She knew it was near a body of water. Like she was, confirming that. And that's just remarkable. I mean,
it really is. The work you do just blows me away.
I'm like a bystander sometimes. I feel like
I can't even imagine like being in the room when you do it. Like just watching your videos. I don't know. I think my mouth is open the whole time. I'm just like, what? No way. That's
thank you. But I got to say, though, if you sat in the room with me, I think that it would be very uneventful.
Right. Because you've got to go back and replay everything.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just like any other investigation. People think that you're getting stuff all the time, but you're really just sitting in a room and you don't really see much or hear anything. So
yeah, you just got to go on faith a lot of times. Faith on what you're seeing, faith that Jesus is a part of it, bringing in the guides are helping. You see things that are very accurate, but then sometimes you see things that are not. And they may even say, no, that's not happening. You're seeing something else, or that's not, whatever. So, it's just kind of like, I think that it all comes together over the course from starting it to when it's finished being reviewed and put together.
You really do put a lot of work into this. And it shows.
It's too much. It's not too much. It's actually everything that goes into it is what this work deserves, or what these sessions deserve. But it is so much that it is like, after this long, I'm now kind of starting to feel it a little bit more. I think that, it's been, and it's affected my connection as of recently. My sessions are still absolutely amazing in the sense of what the spirit is able to bring through, what the guides are able to help me with, what I'm able to still do. But, there was a period where I'm still kind of in it. I'm okay, but it just feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect, I think, due to just being burnt out a little bit,
I would say that's pretty natural with the type of work that you do.
Yeah.
It would require a large amount of self-care and probably a decent amount of disconnecting.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard because again, I have to make sure I'm still it's not just me. If it was, it'd be a lot easier to just take care of me, but I'm taking care of my family, young children. And then I have to be present for them, and on top of making sure I'm working enough. So it's a balance, but everything I do is spiritual based when it comes to this work. And if I'm not in that mode, because I'm in a human mode in that moment, that affects the results.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you kind of have to just find a way to try to be as spiritually grounded as possible, as much as you can.
It would be a balancing act. I'm not in your shoes, so I don't know, but I do own a spiritual healing center. So during the day, I work with people.
Awesome.
Like we have the retail shop, which is great, but I personally work with people through trauma and emotional release. I do crystal healing.
That's awesome.
It is amazing. I'm very
That's in
blessed.
Utah. That's where you are. You have a physical brick and mortar.
Yes.
That is really cool. That's what I eventually want to do. I want to have the facility of hope one day, and the facility of helping other people evolve. And that's where I want to have a little retail spot, but I want to be able to do my research, and I wanted to start almost like a nonprofit to do it. But that's really cool that you have that. That is awesome.
Thank you. We just celebrated the 6th birthday.
Wow.
At the end of September. And it wasn't something I was called to do when I was younger. I mean, I lived a kind of a little bit of a wilder life. Probably not as wild as you, but I mean, around the same kind of people.
Yeah.
I was just always drawn to the misfits, but I've always been very empathic. And so I think that's just a normal thing that happens with empaths. We just want to fix people and heal people and do all those things. But I've gone through a lot in my life, and this was the last thing I thought I would be doing. But because of what I went through, it's exactly what I'm meant to be doing.
Right.
I'm severely blessed. It's an understatement. However, the reason why I was sharing is the exhaustion that takes place in helping other people. Like having this deep passion to assist other people. It's what I do all day and I think about all night. And even after sessions with people, I'm still feeling them and still thinking about them.
Sure.
And there does have to be a level of disconnect and self-care so that I can continue to show up.
Right.
And it can be very exhausting. And there are times I question, like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I doing this in general? Because it does wipe you out. It takes so much away from you.
Yeah.
But every time I get in that place, Josh, I have a session with somebody or a conversation with someone, and I'm reminded, like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. No,
And
it's true.
I'm sure that you have those similar experiences for yourself. Like you kind of get a little negative, if you will, just like, oh my gosh, I can't do another day of this. It's so much. And then you get this really divinely timed reminder that the messages come through people or however they show up, that, hey, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Keep going. You got this.
And that's a great message, because I've been saying that to myself recently. I had, it's been over a year and a half now that, I had a really bad falling out with a mentor of mine. And that was a really tough one. I won't go into the details of it, but that really challenged, because it was someone I trusted a lot, and that was a hard one. And so there's been some stuff that has happened or it's not even that it happened. That happened and that was tough, but it's been trying to maintain certain things. And I'm like, wait a minute, or people are asking me constantly, can you reach this one? I really want to reach this one, and I need help with this one. And I don't want to keep saying, you need to go to my site. Sometimes I take on cases or I'll help people for free just because I can sense that I need to in that moment. But I find myself, constantly overextending myself because I want to try to please or help. Not even please, it's to help. And it's to really, just because of that, I don't want to say no to someone. And I'm paying the price for it, but I'm also learning the balance, and I'm turning it over. I wouldn't want to do anything else. I don't know how. I wouldn't know if I want. What else would I be doing until he shows me, until he leads me in another direction, I guess. But this is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. And it is amazing because I feel it when I, like you said, when you get that kind of burnout, but then you do that one and you get that extra amazing validation and everything. It just really is like, wow, like that's what they put this one that, with Brittany Murphy. I mean, it was like, she just kind of, it was just a really special thing because I knew that I had to do that. It was synchronistic. It was really, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for the little reminders. I don't think I'd still be doing what I'm doing if I didn't have them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd be like, what's the point? Why am I doing this to myself? But it's definitely worth it. And I'm glad that you see that too, because people like you are needed. I think it's really important, the type of work that you're doing.
Thank you. I mean, it's very unique work. And I joke about how if someone sees my work for the first time, it's normally, one of two responses. And it's either, wow, this is mind blowing, or wow, this guy is a huge fake. Holy cow. So it's like, it's really hard to be in the middle on it. It's like, they really, if you watch a whole video, you'll just kind of pick up things that you'll know. But sometimes the responses are so clear, so direct, that you kind of go, that's just impossible. We're not, and mainstream science is just nowhere near. I mean, they're getting better. They're getting better because there are institutes and there are parapsychology departments now. And so there are, it really is, but it's still not there, not for at least what I'm doing yet, I think, so.
Well, you have just such a unique way of doing what you're doing. You're different. Your approach is so different than most people. Like I've said a handful of times tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. You brought up the instrumental transcommunication.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go more into that so we understand what that means?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, ITC, people are like, oh, you're doing something, this is new or something. And I'm going, no, it's really not new. It's actually been, the history of ITC goes back over 100 years. I mean, I can't say exactly the first person to start. Anytime someone used a tool of some kind to communicate with the other side, I mean, that is a form of ITC. But, you had guys like, Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, that built machines to communicate with the other side. So they were very involved in ITC, instrumental transcommunication. I know there's a fake picture of Abe Lincoln holding like what looks like a proton pack on his back and goggles, like he was, because, that was some fake photo that was circulating, but there is truth to the fact that, Abe Lincoln and his wife had done seances within the White House to communicate with past loved ones. So, and there are tools that were involved in it. There was very affluent, very influential people that knew that there was another dimension. Konstantin Radovan was a Latvian scientist a brilliant mind who was another forefather of instrumental transcommunication. Frederick Jurgensen, a filmmaker, he was trying to record additional sound recordings on his windowsill, like the sound of just, ADR, like outside Foley, the wind and trees. And he was picking up EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, it was whispers of messages. And that got him started. There was a guy named Gary Golka who lost his daughter, and he built the PSB-7 spirit box to try to communicate with her. There's a guy named Frank Sumption, who was another guy that he was like really the godfather of the spirit box, because he created it using different radio housing pieces, and he would use the guts of radios, and he made it where it would scan the different radio stations at a fast rate, and then he added echo into it. And he was one of the first guys. He was, I think, the first guy to add echo, reverb echo, which is the big part of what I use. And another guy, started using it and really kind of, brought it more about. But Frank Sumption, and he was, creating these boxes to speak with aliens.
Yeah,
he was thinking.
About that in your book. I thought that was so fascinating.
Yeah, and I've picked up a picture of one. I've seen a lot of things in the sky. I've had patrons ask their loved ones on the other side, as they do every month, and they asked multiple times, "Have you seen aliens? Do you know if they're real?" Questions like that. And every time I ask a loved one on the other side, they say, yes, we've seen them. Yes, they're real. And they've been here. They've been here, like when I've done my sessions at times.
Wow.
So yeah. That's really neat. It's wild. I think it's all connected
about it, because we're just so conditioned for it not to be something, right?
Right.
It's really neat. You said that Deborah was the one. This is one of the questions I wanted to ask you. When you connect with spirit, you always envision them in the middle of a flower, like when I watch your videos.
Right.
What the purpose of that was. And you brought up earlier that Deborah was the one that taught you that.
Right. So that was just in her intuitive classes, her level 1 class. And I talk about it in the book, but it's just initially I will use the flower to connect, to use. So I will envision like a white flower floating, and I'll have a window. I mean, there's a couple different exercises that I have, but a lot of times it's kind of looking out the third eye, seeing a white flower as like a blank canvas. And then when you say a person's name, or the person says their name, or the loved one's name, you envision that name going into the flower. And so the flower starts to take on qualities of that energy that you're connecting to. And so the petals might change color. Something might happen to the petals. Some of them might open up. Some of them might fall off. The stem can have qualities. There's characteristics on the stem. Normally a few things happen to the flower, and then I start to see the person actually just standing next to the flower, or it just kind of moves off of the flower. But it's an initial connecting tool.
Yeah. It's really neat.
Yeah.
It's a focus.
Yeah. And I've also done something in my meditations, my guided meditations, that I make everyone, if you're doing a session with me, private or group, you got to do the meditation that I lead. It's 15 minutes. And it's a grounding and a visualization. And at the end of that, I always have the patron or the person give a flower, to a rose, to their loved one on the other side. Mm-hmm. And many times that loved one, when I ask for them hours later in a group session, they'll say, thanks for the flower. I got the flower. So they will confirm the thought form. A thought form is something that we can create that actually exists on the other side. And they've confirmed that thought forms are real,
Yeah, I just love this stuff.
I know.
It really is so neat. I don't think I could ever get sick of talking about it or hearing about it.
No, I know. I'm the same way. I don't prepare for these interviews in any way, because it's all right here, and I love it so much. So we can just start talking and just kind of go wherever it goes, because it's all there to talk about,
Yeah, that's what I love about Soul Wanderings, because it just is organic conversation. It just flows the way it goes, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
I do have to say, when I watch your videos, I see you have crystals in your workspace.
Yes.
I am obsessed with crystals. I've been collecting them my whole life. I use them in my practice.
Yeah.
And I noticed you had the clear quartz above your box. So what's your relationship with crystals?
I know, I feel them. I love the energy. I feel the energy. I'm probably not I'm not as educated about them and about what they can do, the frequency and I love having them around, like I have this one of my patrons sent me this really beautiful.
Oh, I saw that on one of your videos.
On the side. I love that piece. I've got some Libyan glass.
Ooh, that's so
and I've got and I love the Moldavite. I can really feel the power of the Moldavite, the Tektites.
Libyan glass is very similar to the Moldavite.
Right. That's why I keep them together. I keep them together.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, if I even put this over my third, I could even I could feel that energy. Like, that is amazing.
Moldavite's no joke.
This is some serious stuff, man.
Yes.
This is like
very vibrational.
Man, it's crazy. Yeah, I got that, and some rose quartz stuff, and then people send me things, and I'm really grateful. I just we went to me and the missus there. We went to Colorado Springs one year to a film festival, and we drove up to like Manitou Springs, up into like the mountain, and we went to this crystal like shack in the side of the road, and it was like, and there were these big crystals and amethysts and quartz, and she's like, "Oh, just give me $50 for that. That's fine." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that thing would cost $500 back home, or wherever it is." I mean, it was wild. So we were packing our bags of crystals like rocks on the airplane, trying to be on the carry-on. Oh, it was like carrying
They're really neat to have. I love that you use them and have them in your space. When I saw that, I was like, yes, that's so cool.
So are you like a crystal expert?
I'm not an expert at anything. I've just used crystals. I'm a crystal healer. So
then then I would say that to you then.
So when I do my intuitive healings, I build crystal grids on and around the body.
Oh my gosh.
To help facilitate the energy.
I want to try that one time with you.
Well, come to Utah.
You can't do it. You can't. Oh, so you always do it right there. I
do it in person. I could do a remote session, but it's actually way more effective in person because the grids are placed directly on the body, around the body, and underneath the body.
Wow. Oh man, I want to try that so bad. That's so cool. I want to do that. I will have to try to.
I've had people come do a session who they were like, "There's no way that this is going to do anything," but I want to try it just to try it, and they're always blown away by what they feel and the experience they have, and they're like, "How do you do that?" I'm like, it's not me.
Wow.
It's not me. But
have you used Moldavite in your work?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Moldavites, but very intentionally. You have to be very careful with Moldavite.
See,
I wish we could get into it more, but this is like 1 minute. We have 1 minute. So
I know. I saw
not to cut you off. We could have a whole show about crystals. I love this stuff, but let's make sure everyone knows how to get in touch with you and how to reach out to you, how to attend your event, how to get your book, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, just hopeparanormal.com. Everything can be found there. The site, the book, the app, the events, the channel, TikTok, all that stuff.
And don't forget the free app.
Yeah, everything can all be found on hopeparanormal.com. Yeah.
So good, Josh. I'm so happy that I got to hang out with you. I think you're amazing, and I love your videos and all of the content you share. Please take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Keep doing the work because it's much needed. And thank you so much for your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It was just really great talking with you. You got a great energy, great little thing here. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And to all of you, my listeners, it's so cool when you guys are hanging out. I think cool's my word of the night. I've said that quite a bit. I don't usually say cool, but it's a thing. All the activity going on in the chat. You guys are so supportive. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you all next week. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Good night.